So good morning, everybody. Thanks very much for joining and welcome to this British Council for Offices Midlands webinar event. My name is James Hall from Associated Architects and I'm representing the BCO Midlands Committee this morning. And we're really pleased to be joined by Simon Delahunty-Forrest, who is the Acting Assistant Director for Development at Birmingham City Council. Today, he's going to be talking through the Council's development vision for Birmingham City Centre, which was recently published in a document called Our Future City Plan, Central Birmingham 2040. The format for today is a webinar, so involves Simon sharing the plan and talking that through. That will probably take about 30 minutes, and then there'll be a chance for everybody to ask questions. The format of the webinar means that Simon and I can't see or hear you, so you'll need to type any questions into the Q&A feature. Hopefully there should be a button visible to you at the bottom of the screen to do that. And then when Simon's finished, I'll be able to pick up those questions and ask those on your behalf to Simon. But just before I hand over to Simon, I just wanted to keep you in the loop with some of the other BCO activities currently ongoing. So first of all, if there are any Next Gen members on today who missed out on the mentoring launch that was held at the end of January, it's not too late to join that programme. And through that, you've got the ability to get access to great selection of mentors from the BCO. Doesn't cost anything, so well worth taking advantage of. There are further details of that on the website, including short videos from the various mentors that are part of that programme as well. In terms of the regional BCO awards and submissions for those awards, unsurprisingly, the awards this year have been postponed to 2022 and will be combined with next year's awards. So the entries for that will open over the summer, and the BCO will notify members as soon as the opening date for that is agreed. So we're hoping to see your entries come forward for that as well. Also on the website, you can find details of upcoming virtual events, both within the region and nationally, that are available for members, free to attend those as well. So in short, that's it from me. So I'll hand you over to Simon, who'll be able to talk you through the city's exciting plans.
Thank you, James. Morning, everybody. And thank you very much for the invite this morning to have this opportunity to speak to you about our future city plan, Central Birmingham 2040. You know, it's the vision for the next 20 years for the city centre. For our great city, and it's our ideas at the moment. And what was launched just under 4 weeks ago was a document called Shaping Our City Together. That the whole idea is that we don't want to actually lock ourselves away in a room for 18 months or so to actually produce a document and then say, there you are, everybody, get on with it. What we want to do this time is actually, in collaboration with stakeholders, investors, community groups, schools, developers, architects, all aspects of our community in Birmingham, to give us their views and your thoughts about how we should shape our city going forward. What I'll do, I'll go through a presentation now with you. I'll turn off my camera because you don't want to be seeing me while I'm talking, but I'll go through all the slides now about the vision as we go forward. So, our history is one of innovation and leadership. You know, we all know Birmingham is a city proud of its past, but we're more excited about what our future is going to be. Everyone knows Birmingham is the heart of the Industrial Revolution, becoming the world's first manufacturing city, thanks to the work of James Watt, Matthew Bolton, and William Murdoch. We built our reputation as a city of 1,000 trades. The city wasn't just founded to make things. At our heart is a spirit which is both imaginative and practical, fueling industry and culture. And it's with this spirit which has brought a stream of firsts to the world. the first steam engine, the first ever hole in the heart surgery, and the world's first heavy metal band, Black Sabbath, all made in Birmingham. But our need is to innovate, and is very much part of our DNA. Birmingham Centre moving forward isn't just a part of our motto and our history, it is part of our DNA. It's our brand. I mean, we all know over the last 30 years, we've worked in partnership together with developers, investors and our community to transform the city centre with the world-class facilities like the ICC, Birmingham Arena, Symphony Hall. We created iconic architecture in the new Bullring and Birmingham City Library. We brought our heritage with us, integrating the canal network into the heart of our city and incorporating more modern additions like the Rotunda, creating a cityscape that feels connected and familiar to our residents. And we've been the driving force behind new developments like Brindley Place, Paradise, Arena Central, Snow Hill, and are now gearing up to create a whole new city quarter on the doorstep of High Speed 2. And let's not forget the work of the Big City Plan that was launched back in 2010 with it, and it did exactly what it said on the tin. What was the vision for the next 10 years, and the 5 areas of transformation they've been done. It's been successful. This is now for the next 20 years going forward. So Birmingham is a city of energy and opportunity. So the Birmingham you see today is one that has revolution and progress running through its veins, not just in the past, but today and in the future. We're a city with energy, with the most useful city in the whole of Europe, with 40% of our population under the age of 25. One of the most cultural, diverse and integrated communities in the UK, creating a rich tapestry of flavours, sights and sounds, which enhance the experience of life in our great city, where community theatre and world-class performers coexist seamlessly. All this gives us the opportunity and the imperative to expand our thinking, to look beyond the city centre and to embrace the surrounding communities where so many of our residents live and work. We have a strong outward-looking blueprint for the future. Now is the time for us to look forward to the next chapter in our story, a chapter that isn't going to be without its challenges. This chapter is going beyond the ring road. It's actually what I've called the phase of spreading the jam, spreading that opportunity within the city centre beyond the ring road and out to them areas that touch the fringes of our city. You can see the city centre as a town, and around that town is a series of villages that are closely connected. But how do we spread the opportunity? And this is the blueprint for that future going forward. But no one can fail to notice the impact that COVID-19 continues to have on us all. The climate emergency hasn't gone away either, and our ambition to be a carbon neutral city set out in our Route to Zero plan will need to be tackled with imagination and practical solutions. And technology continues to change the way we live, work and travel. We need to treat COVID as an agent of change and look at them aspects where we need to go forward in the future for our citizens of Birmingham. But most of all, we have to create that city that does put our people first. If our history shows us anything, it's that the people of Birmingham are best equipped to tackle these challenges head on and to articulate a successful future. What is needed is an ambitious blueprint for the future, a blueprint which will set out our future plan going forward. So our plan is broad, it's ambitious and it is comprehensive. As I've said, it goes beyond the ring road, it's radical. It's going to be challenging our own sense of how we've done things in the past. It will look at where we've cited employment zones, are they now fit for purpose, etc. What are them opportunities? What are them opportunities to build homes quicker and up to a higher standard? What are them opportunities to increase that infrastructure in terms of travel and walking and cycling? And what's that opportunity to create access to good quality jobs? So setting out our future plan is more than just buildings and roads and infrastructure. It's about the type of city that we want to create, the lives that we want to help people lead, the neighbourhoods we want residents to create, and most of all, the type of city we want to be. Our communities need to feel like they're an equal partner with us, able to share the benefits of growth that creates happy, healthy communities built around resilient environments. And it's already happening. You know, it's nothing new. It's happening on our doorstep. So it's a plan driven by clear principles. To guide the development of our plan, we've established 4 key principles that everything we do must align to. These are what I call that we would die in a ditch for. Firstly, any new development must be green. This is about more than planting trees. It's about creating cities which enable people to easily live their lives in a way that has a minimal negative impact on our planet. The city we create must be equitable, with opportunities open to all where no one gets left behind. Where you live must never be a barrier to achieving your potential. But we want to create places which are not just pleasant to look at or highly functional, but communities which are genuinely livable. This means people-focused design, where citizens can create homes and communities, not just a place to live. And we must be distinctive, allowing the pride of our individual communities to shine through and enhance the spaces they inhabit. I always say that it's always easy for me and my colleagues to draw lines and pieces of paper and write a narrative about the places we need to create. But what we need to do is embrace our communities about how they want to live. How do the young people in such a diverse community, how do they want to live? How do they see their city growing? How do they see their city for their children and their children's children going forward? And it's not an easy task. So the city will be delivered by 6 key themes: growth for all, nature, centres, connections, heritage and innovation, and layers. So, a city of growth for all. Growth in our local community must be green, sustainable, and for the benefit of all. Oops. Physically growing the reach of the city centre beyond the ring road and out to communities beyond is going to result in major new developments, rapidly growing the numbers of good quality homes that we provide for residents and leading the way in green, affordable, sustainable housing. And you can see by this plan here is that you've got the city centre core, which is the town, and then the 7 areas or the 7 villages around there where we want to break through and reach out to as we develop the city centre out. And part of that, the communities in these areas need to feel the benefit of this investment through, as I've said before, better homes, leisure and cultural facilities, and access to high quality employment. Their engagement will be key to activating the benefits of this plan will bring. The city of nature. We all know more than ever that it's vital role across to have access to open green space that allows people to play, allows people's sense of well-being. Our plan presents exciting new opportunities to radically build on the existing green capital within the city. It's not about reinventing it. Birmingham has an abundance of green and blue capital. It's about just repositioning it and maybe complementing it. Our road network, so often seen as a barrier, will become our greatest strength, enjoying a new lease of life as city greenways. Areas like the Ring Road and the Hockley flyover have the potential to become a network of green corridors, making active travel an attractive alternative and bringing people into the city in a sustainable way. And I'll show you what we mean by this later on, but our plan is to hand over that transportational infrastructure to green highway, to green technology that allows future connections out across and out of the city centre. And all our new buildings will incorporate new green infrastructure, creating a positive legacy from the built environment. What I'm absolutely clear on is that we can't build more of the same that we've done in the past. We really have to step up the bar in terms of the green agenda and sustainable development, and it can't be tokenistic. It has to be embedded in everything we do, not just the spaces around the buildings, but the buildings themselves that will be complemented by sustainable transport. And I'm not saying that we're going to copy what goes on in, in Milan, but we need to look at our species that would exist in our climate in Birmingham going forward. So a city of centres, a city that recognises we have multiple centres, these villages. Over the years, we have built a world-class city centre, but this has often meant that communities living in its shadow have felt disconnected. Now is the time to support these communities to develop identities as equals in their own right. We will support these neighbourhoods to become vibrant, interconnected areas in sync with the city centre, but retaining the sense of place. We will foster inter-community collaboration, building resilience for the future through investment in homes, employment, education, transport and leisure, all delivered to the highest standards. In my mind's eye, this will be a success for me if that I can actually see school children walking through the city centre because we've provided that infrastructure within the city centre. A city of connections, a connected city. I mean, we all know for far too long, many of our transport corridors have served as barriers rather than facilitators of movement. Our Birmingham Transport Plan 2031 sets out our ambition for a people-focused movement strategy, which relocates road space to active travel, giving us a sustainable infrastructure that delivers our zero carbon goals. And this need for connection extends to digital technology that allows our residents to connect with each other, with employment opportunities, and with the world beyond our city. So in light of that, the city of knowledge and innovation, a city that builds on our heritage of knowledge and innovation. We must continue to invest in education and learning throughout our communities, providing everyone with the opportunity to learn new skills and share each other's knowledge to create a unique and highly skilled workforce. The key is providing that infrastructure for access to good education, but it's also fundamental to actually keep them young people within our city to provide that opportunity to grow once they've attained their successful qualification. I mean, we have more than 70,000 students that have chosen Birmingham as a place to study, providing us with a rich pool of talent that we need to help us to tackle the challenge of living in a more sustainable way through the use of science, data and technology. And our city soul will continue to be nurtured by a thriving and diverse creative media and art scene. And it's already here in Birmingham. You know, you only have to look at Digbeth and what's going on there, the creative industries that are happening there, the creative industries that are happening in the Innovation Quarter with the BCO and people like Bruntwood. We need to really tap into this and grow it and promote it because it's the future. A city of layers. I mean, I've already talked about, you know, how diverse our city is. You know, it's a diverse city of multiple layers. We have been gifted, you know, a diverse city by our communities, past and present, through the landmarks they have built, the traditions they've established, and the cultural capital they've created, expressed through belief, through art, and through music. This diversity supports thousands of jobs across our city today, but this has the potential to make Birmingham a destination city for people and businesses who value a rich cultural experience. The future city we create must enable the continued expression of this diversity, to offer a showcase to visitors of us at our best, but to also enhance the lives of all those who call Birmingham home. Now, this is not about trying to reinvent a scene or an opportunity. It exists here. You know, Manchester do it really, really well. They bang the drum. They bang the drum about the Hacienda. They bang the drum about Oasis, about Manchester City and Manchester United. Birmingham has much more than Manchester. It has much more than Liverpool. It's already here, but we just don't bang that drum hard enough. I mentioned earlier on about Black Sabbath, you know, and the Home of Metal exhibition, which was really, really interesting on two aspects for me personally. One, about the first part of the exhibition, about where they grew up in Birmingham and the issues they had in growing up in Birmingham and in unemployment, etc. To then the final piece at the end, which was a map which encouraged people to actually put their mark on the map from where they came from. And it really spelled out about how a Birmingham brand had actually changed the world, because people from all over the world had come to Birmingham to pay homage. And it didn't matter if you like heavy metal or not, that doesn't matter. It's just about the power that that band has had across the world. And we had the beat scene before Liverpool. It was happening in Birmingham before that. You know, we have Steel Pulse, we had Duran Duran, you know, Moody Blues, etc. You know, we have an abundance of talent, not just from the past, but from the present. And we need to celebrate it more, because it goes hand in hand with regeneration and development. And we really need to express that diversity and how our city goes forward. Because it is part of tourism, it is part about getting people to come into the city, but it's got to be more about people coming to the city just one weekend in the year. We need to get people coming back every weekend and stopping in the city and spending their money in the city. So in terms of our aspirations about shaping our city, we're putting out a series of questions, and those questions around what one is the Greenway. Could roads like the Suffolk Street Queensway be remodelled to provide a ring of green spaces? You know, how can we reduce the dominance of traffic? You know, the harsh environments that it creates. You know, how do we support improvements to support public transport and encourage safer cycling and walking? And this image here is showing our ambition that we feel that the A38, the ring road, should be a green way, the Birmingham Greenway. Let's be ambitious. Boston in the States did partly this, and it cost, you know, billions of pounds. And recently it was done in Lancaster in the States, but it was worth that investment. That investment in terms of Lancaster was $11.5 million. The return's been $230 million. You know, it's created that investment. It's created that appetite to come to the city to invest. And we really have to put that marker in the ground. And we're asking the question, is it right? Is it ambitious enough? Or, you know, is it completely blue sky thinking? Because, you know, putting these ideas up, we have to have delivery mechanisms going forward. There's no point me putting these things forward as blue sky thinking. As part of this document, it has to have a delivery mechanism. So that's one aspect we've posed a question. The other aspect is how could we rethink the retail core area to support and encourage a wider range of businesses around a new green space at the heart of the city? Can this become a focus for celebrating our diversity of heritage, cultural offer, such as the pioneers who built our city? Could building new homes here bring in more people and activity? And we all know that even before COVID struck, that retail was on its knees. You know, and how do we reposition that retail? And our idea here is Park Birmingham. Actually, let's put a park in the city centre. You know, that will help promote health and well-being. It will help promote sustainability, but it will also help to sort of reposition that retail offer. We all know that what we've got at the moment is not now fit for purpose, but what is that going to be, that purpose? People like W.H. Smiths, etc., and Boots still want a front door, but they want them aspects that are going to draw people into the city, that are going to make people want to stay in the city. So our ambition is to create that mixed-use community with residential, with office, with retail, but with a park at its heart. Is the park big enough? Should it be bigger? Should we be braver and take out more blocks? But you can see that it links to High Speed 2, that gateway into Birmingham and that route into the city, and then that connection into St Chad's, and then further out into the Jewellery Quarter. So we're asking that question. And as you can see here, the buildings are green as well. We don't want that to be tokenistic, you know, not leftover space coloured in green, a real meaningful and purposeful position in terms of architecture that will set the bar for the world to look at. The next aspect is, you know, how can we expand Digbeth's creative vitality and celebrate our cultural and diversity with a major visitor destination? And what we're thinking, maybe a new museum and film studio complex within the heart of Digbeth, where Digbeth, you know, where Birmingham grew up. You know, could new green spaces be created to connect the Dudderson Viaduct Sky Park, the canals and river Ray to Garrison Park, and reaching out into East Birmingham, where development and investment is really desperately needed? And how can the area include new homes and workspaces? And what this image is showing here around the Warwick Bar is our idea about working with Stephen Knight and his ideas for a film studio, But, you know, a film studio has to be more than just a box. You know, it has to be complemented to get people to come and visit, for people to live, for people to work, to people to set up incubator units, etc. And our vision here is to look at potentially moving the Birmingham Science and Industry Museum to complement the film studio with a mixed-use tenure there, with residential, with office, and with retail. And it's very, very ambitious. And then we can connect the Sky Park straight through into Digbeth, straight out into Highgate, and creates that opportunity for investment as we reach out towards East Birmingham. You know, and we're really clear that it's not a lift and shift. It's about how do we celebrate Birmingham's past, present and future with new technology. You know, how can we have the Home of Metal exhibition here without it being static? It could be an immersive exhibition. The Tolkien exhibition could be the immersion exhibition, as it is at the Van Gogh live exhibition that was on the Hippodrome. So there's a real opportunity here to celebrate our culture going forward. And we're asking the question, is this the right location? Is it big enough? Or do we need to, you know, bring more creative ideas to the table? And then our other ideas, our other aspirations is how can we rethink buildings around the forthcoming high-speed 2 Curzon station to provide new workspaces and new homes? Can we transform green spaces connections throughout the Knowledge Quarter to improve access to Aston and BC universities? What's really fundamental about this image, and none of this is prescriptive, but what's really key about this is the front door to Birmingham. This is where people will arrive at high speed, you know, getting off high speed 2, and this is what you'll see. And this is not about taking out what's already at Millennium Point. It's about repositioning that offer and building on that offer and creating a space. At the moment, the building creates a blockage. We need to connect, you know, right out into the city centre, connect into the universities and out into East Birmingham as well here. And it shows real potential. And what's really interesting about this as well is how we're thinking differently about how we can deliver these aspirations, is that Birmingham City Council has an interest in this. We own land within this, and what we're thinking about doing differently now is not selling our land to the highest bidder, but it's about how can we actually use our land to actually go into partnership, joint ventures, to actually sweat them assets and spread that wealth and opportunity into them areas that don't have that opportunity. You know, so we're looking at opportunities where we can maybe go into them partnerships, actually consolidate land, buy land, if we need be, use our CPO powers for the greater good. All right, we will have to sell some of our land to the highest bidder, because as all councils across the country, we're all facing financial black holes because of COVID. But our ambition and our intention is not to do that across the board. You know, we are one of the biggest landowners, if not the biggest in the country, and we have an opportunity to actually consolidate that and sweat that asset and deliver places for the good people of Birmingham. And it'd be interesting what your views on that would be going forward. So finally, you know, the big thing about this, as I said at the start, it's not about me and my colleagues locking ourselves away and coming out with a plan and saying, there you go, everybody, get on with it. You know, we want you to have your say. You know, we want to hear your views. We need you to help us accelerate the delivery of our ambitions. And in return, you know, we offer new ways of working. You know, as I said, these joint ventures, partnerships, but most of all, you'll get a partner that has ambition, you know, to grow this city, you know, to grow this great city of ours for the citizens of Birmingham. That's me done, James.
Thank you very much, Simon. Fantastic introduction to the plans there, really. Very exciting and dramatic in my sort of observations, and I'm sure our members have found that very interesting and informative as well. To our audience, I would suggest and promote using the Q&A button at the bottom to raise your questions. I've certainly got a question or two, and I see that one's already been raised as well. But perhaps if I make a start, Simon, if that's okay. I really like the sort of banging the drum for Birmingham phrase, and I think that's really important for all of us in the city. And I think that clearly can happen across lots of levels. You know, individuals through their own work, etc. But I wonder how for the city does that translate into sort of promoting inward investment, particularly some of the sectors we've seen emerging, medtech. What about corporate occupiers, and how is this part of your vision going to be articulated moving forward?
Yeah, it's but Birmingham, even in the climate we're sitting in at the moment, is still buoyant. Investors are still coming to knock our door. What's really incredible about what we've all experienced, and particularly from what we've experienced in Birmingham City Council, is that our planning applications have dropped by about 12%, and they've dropped really around the sort of education market. And that makes sense because of obviously overseas students, but that ambition is still there. People still knocking that door. But investors see Birmingham as that canvas to actually create things. They see Birmingham in its infancy, and all the points that you talk about that sort of creating that investment and banging that drum is really key. Investors are starting to look completely differently about what that offer is and how that offer is complemented. It's not just about coming here with a quick fix and then walking away. They really want to know what is that vision about, celebrating technology, how we're going to grow technology, how we're going to grow our cultural offer, because they all see it. And what amazes me, James, particularly with the overseas investors, how much they know about Birmingham's past, and where we are at this moment in time. They actually do their homework, and they're excited not just about the opportunity about X amount of meter square floor space. They're excited about that opportunity to build its reputation and grow it and really celebrate it. And what we do for our process is introduce and plug people in to actually grow that community. What frustrates me, being absolutely honest about it, and I'm quite open about it, is that Birmingham City Council, as you said, you used my phrase there, doesn't bang its drum hard enough. It really doesn't, and we have all these things going on, and we just need to bang it a lot harder, and I said this, people might have heard me say this before. There was a piece not that long ago in The Guardian about a creative company in Digbeth, a gaming company that won a major award in Los Angeles for a game, and there was no PR about it in Birmingham, and we need to do a lot more about that. And we need to plug people into it and help grow them communities, and we're doing that now in Digbeth, with them opportunities, them investors, introducing them into these key stakeholders, and then people that, have grown the DNA of Birmingham. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Simon. Other questions are sort of rolling in now. The first one was about, I think, sort of city centre skylines, etc. And do you think Birmingham should add to the likes of 103 Colmore Row with sort of more iconic office developments beyond the sort of high-rise residential that the city's seen coming forward in the last few years?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's a housing crisis, and we've got to address that. And Birmingham has an appetite for density, and density comes in many forms. And through COVID, that will change as well, because what people's aspirations are now in terms of living and how they live and how they work. That amenity provision and that work from home provision on that. And this plan, what it's saying is that, it wants to, look at that opportunity for that mixed tenure, places out in Highgate. If you look at the documents, about how we're repositioning Highgate with higher density, but not tall buildings. But Birmingham is a city that has that ambition for tall buildings, not just for the sake of it, but for the real reasons about addressing that housing need provision. And what we're saying through this plan is that we want to be more prescriptive to help developers. We have a tall buildings policy, which a lot of you probably be aware of, and to be honest, it's not that helpful. It's a lot of blobs and bubbles, and it's not as helpful as it could be. And we want to be prescriptive, actually saying this is where tall buildings should go, and this is how they should work when they hit the ground and how they finish at the top. In terms of its height, that doesn't matter. Obviously, there needs to be a relationship with listed buildings and conservation areas, but we'll go on that journey through this consultation we're going through on the buildings at the moment. So there is that appetite, James, to do that and build that. And we're already doing it. You know, Birmingham's already starting to do that on them key transportational corridors into the city, where you're now starting to see tall buildings getting planning permission and being built that are outside that policy document as it stands. So there is that ambition, but and this is a big thing, and I really have been saying this to the architectural community, we've got to do our tall buildings better. You know, they have got to be better, not iconic for the sake of it, and there's many definitions of iconic, but we've got to do our tall buildings better. It can't just be an extrusion, and I think the world that we live in now will really help push that.
Okay, yeah. I see some links through some of these questions as well. Another one relates to the sort of strength of the green agenda that's sort of coming across in the visuals you've produced. And I think the question really is about how that vision translates into planning policy. And I'd sort of add in into that, is there a plan to develop sort of localised master plans for the areas you've shown, or a sort of city centre master plan? How does this move forward, I guess, is the question.
Yeah, the way this will move forward now is that, you know, we've posed the questions, and what we want is as much feedback as possible, warts and all. And the questions you're asking are really poignant as well, particularly about how are you going to deliver it, because what this document can't be, James, is a document that just sits on the shelf. It has to be a document that has them delivery mechanisms in it, and I don't know the answers to all of them questions, and I need, you know, people like yourselves and people sitting around the table today to help me find what them delivery vehicles are. And as I've said, what we want to do is look at our portfolio, our asset portfolio, in a different way that will help get some of these initiatives off. So, you know, if that means that we go into a partnership to actually create part of the green corridor, the Birmingham Greenway, then that's what we'll do if we feel it's a good idea. Because, you know, looking at the Lancaster idea, you know, the return it's had has been incredible. All right, they invested nearly $12 million, but the return's been brilliant. And this is what we need to do. And this is how we want to go forward. Now, through them 7 areas that you saw, we are now developing up the briefs for each of them areas, and we're going to work through what they are. So when the plan does come out, there will be the city centre plan and how that then expands out. Does that mean that we've now, you know, have we put new metro links into that? What is the mechanism and funding for that? Have we repositioned green space and put in new green space? We don't know yet. Are we looking at we sort of upgrade existing train stations, or are we looking at putting new train stations in? And also, what is the mechanism to deliver that? So at the moment, it's really in its infancy. You know, we've got the ideas, but what's really key is that delivery mechanism. And for us, we have that tool with our assets. That's our big thing at the moment, is the assets to drive that agenda going forward.
So there are sort of obvious examples, aren't there, around things like the council's involvement in Paradise. So do you see those sort of models being key to delivering the ambition?
Yeah, that will be the models definitely going forward to deliver that. You know, we're already, you know, in dialogue at the moment with Ladywood, you know, and there will be them other opportunities. We may not do it in the same way that we procured Smithfield or the way we're doing Ladywood at the moment. There might be other mechanisms, and there may be situations where we have a land ownership and we're next door to an investor who's got, you know, a land ownership as well, where we can come together, consolidate that and develop that out, you know, because there is a real opportunity for, for Birmingham to expand what it can do. I mean, we have got BMHT, the Birmingham Housing Municipal Trust. We can expand that, you know. Why can't we actually go into a partnership with somebody else, you know, do our own PRS maybe, do our own student accommodation? I don't know, but then use that sweating of that asset to do other things in, you know, Washwood Heath or down in Druids Heath, etc. That's our ambition. That's what we want to do.
Okay. There's a couple of questions that sort of move from that sort of development and supporting good development into thinking about protecting, to quote a bit here, Birmingham's splendid industrial heritage, and also how you envisage the nature of that historic engagement becoming closer. How do we tie all this together, I guess, is the gist of these questions.
Yeah, you know, it's absolutely fundamental. It's part of our DNA. It becomes under our city of layers. You know, it's about, you know, not just our built heritage, it's about our social heritage as well. And it's not just about, you know, 20th century stuff or Vic stuff as well. It's about our heritage today as well. You know, what is our heritage that's happening, you know, in, you know, Handsworth Wood, you know, things like that. And what we're clear about in this document is that, you know, our heritage has a key part to play. And it's not just those buildings or conservation areas that have statutory protection. It's about them assets as well that, you know, contribute to the built environment, you know, and we're encouraging that we have to work that together. There is a juxtaposition here, but we have to work forward. We're not proposing whatsoever any intention of clearing, you know, having a cleared palette on this whatsoever, you know, and through our city of layers, and we're doing workshops at the moment. You know, we've got key stakeholders in that, Historic England, a part of that. We've got the museums, people on that, and other people that have got a real interest in Birmingham's heritage, you know, as I say, both physically and socially as well. So it's very much at the forefront of our thinking, and it plays into the green agenda as well, James. You know, that's the whole sustainability agenda. And you can see, you know, at the moment about some of the most wonderful spaces we've got that have been converted into fit for purpose, you know, office accommodation, etc. You know, and it's about how they come together and how they meet.
Yeah, good. Okay, moving on slightly, Simon. There's a question about transport, particularly cars. I wonder if you can update us on the sort of the policies that the council have got in play for vehicles in the city, and perhaps touch a bit more broadly on wider transport aspirations as well.
Yeah, you know, the transport plan 2031, you know, that's out there, and that ambition, and that's got to align with our future city plan. And we're working very closely with Phil Edwards in transportation on that, about, you know, particularly about where we can offer up that infrastructure to green corridors. You know, we're working with them at the moment on that. You know, we've already set our stall out in terms of the cars to clean air zone, and that's clearly going to expand. You know, that's clearly going to expand, and it's only going to expand if we put that infrastructure in place in terms of good quality public transport, if that be the speed bus, or if that's you know, metro. And this plan will shape that. That will shape them connections. And as I said in that earlier as well, you know, we are looking at our existing stations. You know, do we need to, you know, bring them up to a fit for purpose, or do we actually need to look for new stations within this tapestry? You know, within our, you know, within these centres around our main city centre. So that is that ambition, you know, and that is, you know, the council's directive. And clearly, you know, the car's still got a place within it. You know, the car is not just going to disappear overnight. It's not going to happen, you know. And if the Greenway ever came, you know, was realised, you know, you're still going to have access into the city centre, you know, in terms of delivery, etc. But we are noticing now, James, particularly, you know, with residential, that, you know, developers don't want the car anymore, and our policy in terms of planning is zero parking in the city centre. You know, and young people are not interested in cars anymore either. So I think, you know, we have to build into that, and we have to work that through, and this plan will show that and what that intention is. But what's important is that there will be a delivery mechanism for how we do that.
Okay. And I guess that sort of leads through the sort of green climate and infrastructure components. The question's been raised about are the city prepared to lead with green infrastructure development, which will increase land values and make green buildings viable. I think there's a sort of baseline assumption that people need to spend more on buildings, perhaps, if they're to sort of enhance their sustainability credentials. So what are your thoughts around that?
Yeah, look, you know, the world's moving at such a pace now in terms of the green agenda, you know, and we've got a lot of catching up to do on that. And we know there's a lot of companies out there with our ambition of meeting, you know, being carbon neutral by 2030, if not sooner. And, you know, through this process we're doing, we are talking also to contractors. Contractors have approached us as well about the green agenda, and they're telling us about their frustrations in terms of about getting the planning ticket to the point of being on site, to the point of then handover. You know, so we need to bring that whole line from planning to handover to the table and understand what them issues are. And the contractors are telling us that, you know, there are solutions and there are cheaper ways of delivering green technology. So we need to bring everybody to the table to have that open and frank conversation to do that. And we're doing it. You know, we've got a workshop that's set up that I think Wilmot Dixon's are heading up for us on that. And, you know, we're encouraging people like yourself, James and others to come to them workshops and discuss that through and work it through, you know, and to do it. And, you know, and Birmingham's going to have to put its money where its mouth is, James, clearly. You know, we're going to have to do that. We're going to have to lead by example. But I think the only way we're going to do that is in partnership. That's the future, in partnership.
Great. There's just a couple more questions around, one's around sort of alternative styles of working. So will plans include affordable human scale live work studios and residential space, including sufficient space for people to work from home, I guess, as well?
Yeah, I mean, you know, planning management, we've got to be careful about how prescriptive we are in terms of, you know, how different, you know, developers want to bring their brand to the city, you know, on that in terms of amenity. But it is key, it is fundamental, and we're going to have to work through that. And through our plan, you know, the revisions to the Birmingham development plan will come through that. So I would say watch that space about how that sort of formulates through the Birmingham development plan, and how that will filter through into you know, policy on that. And clearly, you know, people will have a say on that and an opportunity to consult on that, because we are seeing a bit of a trend coming through at the moment now in terms of co-living. You know, and we're slightly nervous about the co-living, because some aspects we've seen is about just cramming them in and stacking it up, you know, and there's potential that they're going to be slums of the future. And it can also be seen as a bit of a, you know, a ruse to, you know, make that balance sheet look even more attractive. So we've got to really think through about what these places are that we are going to create. You know, what is that level of amenity provision? And it can't be tokenistic. It can't be them leftover bit of spaces in the building form that architects struggle to deal with, to what to put into it. You know, and a lot of people are already doing it. You know, I don't want to name check anyone, but, you know, Angel Gardens in Manchester went and saw that, and they really thought through about the amenity space for the people that live there and work there. You know, it was really well thought out, and it was big space, and Birmingham needs to lead through that. And I really think the demand's going to be there that pushes that agenda anyway, James. I think people that want to live in the city will say, that's what I want, you know. So I think the whole landscape will change.
Yeah, great. Well, I think, Simon, we've worked our way through most of the questions there, but so we'll sort of bring to a close shortly. But I think my overall observations, and it's not the first time I'd seen this presentation, as you know, Simon, but I do remember the first time I saw it, and physically sort of being really surprised with the scope and breadth of the ambition that the council have set out here. Sort of almost shocked that, you know, how far you'd set the marker forward, which I think is really positive. And it sounds like this stage of your process is open, and I think on that basis, certainly promote to members to begin to think about how they can respond to the city's plans during its consultation period, and engage with the city more broadly about aspirations that you and your clients might have moving forward. So I think that just leaves it to me, Simon, to say thanks very much for spending the time with our members today and setting out the very ambitious plans as you have done today. And thank you to all the members who have joined in as well. And don't forget to check the website for future events. So thank you very much.